भगवते वासुदेवाय। भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी। ॐ अज्ञानातिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथं वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमस्ते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णहस्ताय प्रभुपादाय श्री गिरिराजाय स्वामिने सुभक्तराधारास बिहारी भक्तिवेदांताय। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णहस्ताय श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे। मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयति गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणम्। So we are reading Shrimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 1. So this is, we are now on text 40. You can hear me? You can hear me? You come closer. Office? It's terrible. The office is very bad. Very bad. You can come closer if you can't hear me. You can hear me. You can come here. Yeah, just come here. You can come here. You can hear me. All right. So this is the history of the life of Ajamil. So this is now. What is the process of punishing others? It's that I spoke about lawyers. Lawyers. So like Ajamil was already sanctioned for hell, right? That's what's his destiny. It is hell. But suddenly there was an interference by the agents of Vishnu. And why that happened is going to be discussed here. So the first thing, as a lawyer, say, all right, so these are the lawyers speaking on behalf of Ajamil. So they are saying, tell us what is religion. Tell us what is religion. You put up your case. And Srila Prabhupada says, as preachers, we should know our philosophy We should be able to defend our Vaishnava philosophy. Hmm? So this section now is very crudely the uh, the law of karma that applies to every karmi, each and every karmi. It's very cruel, it's very raw. Hmm? So, so the Vishnu Dutta asks, what is the process of punishing others? Facebook is not at all reliable, We lose all these classes. Okay. Yeah. So, what is the process of punishing others? What are the actual? Who are the actual candidates for punishment? Are all karmis engaged in fruitive activities punishable, or only some of them? So the answer is given here in text 40. Yamadutta together. Yamadutta uchuhu Veda pranihito dharmo yadharmastat viparyayah Vedo narayana sakshat swayam bhur iti shushruma. So the Yamdut replied, that which is prescribed in the Vedas constitute dharma, the religious principles, and the opposite of that is irreligion. The Vedas are directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, and are self-born. This we have heard from Yamaraj. So now, see, this is I took half an hour only on this one verse. Because Prabhupada is saying we should be able to defend our philosophy. And now here, this is the philosophy of how people suffer in this world. So the servants of Yamaraj replied quite properly. They didn't manufacture principles of religion or irreligion. Instead, they explained what they had heard from the authority Yamaraj. So what does Yamaraj teach? Maha Jano Yena Gata Sapantha. One should follow the Mahajan, the authorized persons. Yamaraj is one of 12 authorities. Yamaraj is one of 12 authorities. So he has given his verdict. What is Dharma? Therefore, the servants of Yamaraj, the Yamdutas, replied with perfect clarity when they said, Shushruma, we have heard. See, now the Yamduta, they are not very highly educated. They are only, what are they? Agents. They're agents. You send your agent, right? Do this. So they're just doing. But their master have told them what to do, who to catch, right? They are only order carriers, that's all. So they don't use their brain. All right. Say, I've been told to do this, and that's what I do. Finish. Full stop. So which is correct. All right. They can't go beyond what their master have told them, right? That's when you get into trouble, right? When you use too much of your brain, you get into trouble. Right? Anyway, yeah, Prabhupada said that his disciples should be independently thoughtful. Independently thoughtful. This is such a huge topic. How to be like Yamduta, my master told me, catch him. So I just went and caught him, right? And no, independently thoughtful and analyze what happened. Oh, he said Narayan. So others had to come and intervene, right? Therefore, the servants of Yamaraj, the Yamadut, replied with perfect clarity when they said, Shushuma, we have heard. The members of modern civilization manufacture defective religious principles through speculative concoction. This is not dharma. So, how dangerous today this civilization is. How dangerous. Because we get together, a bunch of people get together, and they actually, what they do, they take the original, because they can't invent from nothing, right? So they take the original, then they adjust, right? Little bit here, little bit there. Just like Bible says, thou shalt not kill, right? I'm giving you one simple example. Bible says, thou shalt not kill. So what did they do? What did they say?
It's human beings.
Hmm?
It belongs to you. That phrase belongs to human beings, not the animals.
They say thou, they change it in the Bible itself. They change it, they put thou shalt not murder. Can you imagine? All right? This is a law book of religion, right? They change thou shalt not kill. Jesus Christ said thou shalt not kill. And they change it, they put it thou shalt not murder. And I heard that, they celebrate some politician birthday by burning the Manusmriti, right? Meaning if I burn the Manusmriti, which is the laws of Dharma for humanity. So I burn those, and then I would put my own laws. So this happened because there's abuse of a certain law within the law of Dharma. So when people, they start with something and then they take advantage. You know how people find loopholes in laws? Then they distort it. Let's say like the Brahmanas. Brahmanas are highly glorified, right? But when you misuse your position, right? You do completely wrong things, then you're thrown out. Yes, but you throw out the whole system, right? So you have to use your own brain, right? You cut off, you just say, okay, chop off the head. It's basically what they do. You say, oh, there is a disease in the brain. Now everybody knows if you get a brain disease, you do everything possible to cure the brain, right? It causes paralysis here, there. You don't chop off the head. But this is what people do. They say, okay, let's get rid of the Brahminical class altogether. Then the Kshatriyas, they're good for nothing. They're only exploiting us, right? So let's finish them off. So in this way, in Kali Yuga, we have removed two classes, the Brahminical class and the Kshatriya class. And therefore, we have what we call the world today, right? So the members of modern civilization manufacture defective religious principles through speculative concoction. This is not dharma, meaning that if you have cut off the head, you have to come up with something else, right? And now you have no brain. Are you as intelligent as the intelligentsia, right? The intellectual class, are you that intelligent, right? Because even though defective, they were still drawing their ideas from something that is perfect, but they were crooked, right? They do not know what is dharma and what is adharma. Therefore, as stated in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, dharma projita kaitohutra, dharma not supported by the Vedas is rejected from Srimad Bhagavat Dharma. Bhagavad Dharma comprises only that which is given by the Supreme Person of Godhead, meaning that this Srimad Bhagavatam is actually the law of Dharma. Something that is not Dharma is not found in Srimad Bhagavatam, because from the very beginning, Dharma projita kaitavatra has been thrown out. So what is this Bhagavad Dharma? Bhagavad Dharma is Sarva Dharman Parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraj. One must accept the authority of the Supreme Person of Godhead and surrender to Him, and whatever He says, that is dharma. I must do whatever Krishna says. And that's the difficult part, right? Arjuna, for example, thinking that violence was adharma, was declining to fight. But Krishna urged him to fight. Arjuna abided by the orders of Krishna, and therefore he's actually a dharmi, because the order of Krishna is dharma. And now everybody knows that Mahabharata, the way it was fought, if you say, it is dharma or is it adharma? Right? The way all the great warriors on the battlefield of Kurukshetra was killed, starting with Dronacharya, right? Dronacharya, Bhishma, Karna, Bhurishrava, right? So many. Here we say Krishna is guiding everything. We are saying Arjuna is dharmi. So therefore, what is dharma and what is adharma cannot be understood by ordinary people. Therefore, they criticize Krishna is the cause of the war of Mahabharata, and he is unfair. And so they glorify the villain, right? They glorify the villain and they put down the heroes. Alright? Because they don't understand what is dharma, what is adharma. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Vedescha Sarver, Aham Eva Vidyaha. The real purpose of Ved, knowledge, is to know me. One who knows Krishna perfectly is liberated. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 4.9, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tadvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mam eti sorjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. One who understands Krishna and abides by his order is a candidate for returning home back to Godhead. It may be concluded that dharma, religion, refers to that which is ordered in the Vedas, and adharma, irreligion, refers to that which is not supported in the Vedas. So Prabhupada will explain in this purpose that what is Ved? Ved is simply the instructions of Krishna. That's all. When we speak of Ved, it's the instructions of Krishna. So dharma, now Prabhupada is saying that this dharma also is not manufactured by Narayan. As stated in the Vedas, asya mahato bhutasya nishvasitam etad yat rig veda iti. The injunctions of dharma emanate from the breathing of Narayan, the supreme living entity. Narayan exists eternally and breathes eternally. And therefore dharma, the injunctions of Narayan, also exist eternally. Srila Madhvacharya, the original Acharya for those who belong to the Madhava Gaudiya Sampradaya, says, Vedanam prathamo bhakta harir eva yato vibhuhu ato vishvatmaka veda ityahur veda vadinaha. The transcendental words of the Vedas emanated from the mouth of the Supreme Person Godhead. So dharma, see now, we have to understand this, and we have to get the idea properly in our mind. Narayan exists eternally, right? Narayan is living, right? Living, all right? He's alive, he's living. And we say whoever lives is breathing, all right? So that breath of Narayan is the Vedas. All right? The breath of Narayan is Vedas, meaning that Veda exists simultaneously with Narayan, meaning that the Vedas have no origin. The Vedas have only one origin, exist with Narayan. All right? So now, these Ved means instructions for all. And here specifically, we are speaking about the instructions for those in the material realm. Because this is where things go really wrong. Spiritual realm, Vaikuntha, everything goes automatic. Why? The spiritual world, everything goes on automatic. Why? No, why is it that things, I'm saying that in the material world, there's the Vedas, there are all the rules and regulations, the instructions, there is monitorship, etc., etc. But in the spiritual world, everything is going on automatically. Why? Because everybody accepts Krishna. Everybody accepts Narayan. Everybody is a servant. Whereas here, everybody wants to be a boss. So therefore, you have to put the rules, right? Yes, you have to put the rules. And that's how, now because, so the rules are perfect, dharma, the instruction are perfect. What is imperfect? The person who's executing the rules. They're imperfect. So what do? They say, I don't care. I don't care. Right? I don't care. And those who care, they bend the rules. They manipulate the rules in their favor. Is this familiar? Right? It's very familiar. Bend the rule in your favor. So therefore, it becomes adharma, right? But the dharma is eternal because, meaning you cannot change it. Even though you're bending, breaking, disobeying, whatever we may be doing, it doesn't change the fact that the dharma is eternal and it's standing. So, Srila Madhvacharya says, the transcendental words Vedanam Prathamo Vakta Harir Eva Yato Vibhu Ato Vishvatmaka Veda Ityahur Veda Vadinaha. The transcendental words of the Vedas emanated from the mouth of the Supreme Personal Godhead. Therefore, the Vedic principles should be understood to be Vaishnava principles because Vishnu is the origin of the Vedas. The Vedas contain nothing beside the instructions of Vishnu, and one who follows the Vedic principles is a Vaishnava. All right? The Vaishnava is not a member of a manufactured community of this material world. A Vaishnava is a real knower of the Vedas, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Vedischa sarver aham eva vedyaha. Text 41. Together. Yena swadhamyami bhava raja sattva tamomayaha gunanama kriya ruper bhavyanti yatha tatha. Yes, you can read.
Yena, by which, by whom, sorry, Yena, by whom, Narayana, Swadhamini, right, word to word meaning, only translation. Translation by Divine Grace Prabhupada. The supreme cause of all causes, Narayana, is situated in his own abode in the spiritual world, but nevertheless he controls the entire cosmic manifestation according to the three modes of material nature. Sattva Guna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna. In this way, all the living entities are awarded different qualities, different names, such as Brahmana, Kshatriya, and Vaishya, different duties according to the Varnashrama institution, and different forms. Thus, Narayana is the cause of entire cosmic manifestation. Purport by Divine Grace Prabhupada. The Vedas inform us na tasya karyam karanam ta vidyate na tat samas cha abatyadikascha drishyate प्रयास्य शक्तिर्विविधाइव श्रूयते स्वाभाविकी ज्ञान बलाक्रिया च Satveshwara Upanishad 6.8. Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is almighty, omnipotent. He has multifarious energies and therefore is able to remain in his own abode and without endeavor supervise and manipulate the entire cosmic manifestation through the interaction of the three modes of material nature, Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna. These interactions create different forms, bodies, activities, and changes, which all occur perfectly because the Lord is perfect. Everything works as if He were directly supervising and taking part in it. Atheistic men, however, being covered by the three modes of material nature, cannot see Narayana to be the supreme cause behind all the activities. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7.13, Tribir Gunamayer Bhaver Bhaver Ebihi Sarvam Idam Jagat Mohitam Nabhijanati Mam Ebhaya Param Avyayam. Deluded by three modes of whole world does not know me. Deluded by the three modes, the whole world does not know me, who I am above the modes of inexhaustible. Because the unintelligent agnostics are mohita, illusioned by the three modes of material nature. They cannot understand that Narayana Krishna is a supreme cause of all activities, as stated in the Brahma Samhita 5.1. Ishwar Parama Krishnaya Satchitananda Vigraha Anadi Adir Govinda Sarvakarana Karana. Krishna who is known as Govinda, is the supreme controller. He has an eternal blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all and he has no other origin, for he is the prime cause of all causes.
Okay, so this is again comes, this is all like dharma. Where is it coming from? Right? Where is it coming from? So Narayan is in his own abode. Narayan is in his own abode, but he is controlling the entire universe. Right? So he has multifarious energies and therefore he is able to remain in his own abode without endeavor, and without endeavor supervise and manipulate the entire cosmic manifestation through the interaction of the three modes of material nature, Sattvagun, Rajogun, and Tamagun. These interactions create different forms, bodies, activities, and changes which all occur perfectly. So basically, Narayan is very far away, he's in his own abode, but he's in charge, he's watching each and everyone, because the question is being asked, who's the judge? Right? So the Yamduta is saying it is Narayan. Narayan who is judging everybody. And he is giving us our bodies, whatever bodies we have right now. Narayan is giving that body. Hmm? Basically, that's what it is here. Hmm? Now, who are the witness? So this is given in the next verse. Together. Suryogani Khammarudeva Soma Sandhyahani Disha Ye Te Debhasya Sakshinaha. So who's the Sakshi for our activities? Right? This question is always asked. Who is the Sakshi? This is given here. The sun god, the fire god, air, the demigods, moon, evening, day, night, directions, water, land, supersoul himself, all witness the activities of the living entities. Who is the Sakshi for our work? So here Prabhupada is saying, so Prabhupada said some members of the Christian, they don't believe. They say, oh, how they asked Prabhupada, he was just a boy at school. So the Christian professor, oh, you people, so there is a past life. Who has seen the past life? Now we can see the past who has seen, right? So they don't believe in past life. So a conditioned soul thinks that he's working stealthily and that no one can see his sinful activities. But we can understand from the Shastra that there are many witnesses. List is given. So the Supreme Lord. So here there are no discrepancies. So there may be living beings in Swargalok, in middle and down. There is absolutely no discrepancy. Everybody is placed exactly where he deserves. Zero discrepancy, because there are so many witnesses. I mean, this, if we don't study Bhagavatam and we think we are free to just speak, right? Speak what we say, body, with your body you commit sinful activities, with your speech you commit sinful activities, with your mind. The moon god is sitting in your mind, right? So everything is being observed. So swabhaviki jnana bala kriyacha. So this material world is perfectly arranged by the management of the Supreme Lord, and there are plenty of witness. Text 43. Etara dharmo vigyata sthanam dandasya yujate sarve karmanurodhena dandam arhanti karinaha. The candidates for punishment are those who are confirmed by these many witnesses to have deviated from their prescribed regulative duties. Everyone engaged in fruitive activities is suitable to be punished, to be subjected to punishment according to his sinful acts. This is only the beginning now. This is only the beginning of the description of how the living being commits sinful activity. It's very horrifying what's described. सम्भवन्ति हि भद्राणि विपरीतानि च नघः कारिणां गुणसङ्गोऽस्ति देहवान्नाहि कर्म कृत्. O inhabitants of Vaikuntha, you are sinless. So the Yambuddha is saying that you are sinless. You're anagha, you're sinless. So but you don't do you know where you are here? Do you know where you are here? But those within this material world are all karmis. Whether acting piously or impiously, both kinds of action are possible for them because they are contaminated by the three modes of nature and must act accordingly. One who has accepted a material body cannot be inactive, and sinful action is inevitable for one acting under the modes of material nature. Therefore, all the living entities within this material world are punishable, whether you're Brahmana, whether you're Kshatriya, whether you're Vaishya, or whether you're Shudra, right? Or you are outside. Whoever has taken birth and has a material body, here the Yamduta is saying inevitable that they will commit sinful activities, right? The difference between human beings and non-human beings is that a human is supposed to act according to the direction of the Vedas. Unfortunately, men manufacture their own ways of acting without reference to the Vedas. Therefore, all of them commit sinful actions and are punishable. 45. Yena yavan yatha dharmo dharmo veha samihitah sa eva tat phalam bhunkte tatha tavad amutrave. In proportion to the extent of one's religious or irreligious actions in this life, one must enjoy or suffer the corresponding reactions of his karma in the next. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 14.18, Urvam gachanti satvastha madhye tishtanti rajasah jaghanya guna vrittistha adho gachanti tamasah. Those who act in the mode of goodness, so there are those who are in Swargalok, these are the jiva who are in Swargalok. Then there are those who are ordinary people who do not commit excessively sinful acts, so they live in Bhulok. And those who are abominable, they go down to hellish life, to all those Patal Lok, etc., etc. Text 46. Yatheha deva pravaras traividyam upalabhyate bhuteshu gunave chitriyat tathanyatra numiyate. O best of the demigods, we can see three different varieties of life, which are due to the contamination of the three modes of nature. The living entities are thus known as peaceful, restless, and foolish, as happy, unhappy, or in between, or as religious, irreligious, and semi-religious. We can deduce that in the next life, these three kinds of material nature will similarly act. The actions and reactions. See, now this is huge psychology. Like everybody wants to know what's my future. Right? We go run with our Janma Patri, right? As soon as we are born, immediately printout is given, right? Our Janma Patri, what we're carrying forward from all our actions, right? So he is explaining that the actions and reactions of the three modes of material nature are visible in this life, meaning how we are behaving, each and every one of us, how we are behaving is simply a combination of these three gunas, meaning there is a percentage of sattva in me, a percentage of rajas, and a percentage of tamas. So these combine together and make me behave, speak in a certain way, or think in a certain way, right? And therefore, meaning that how much goodness is in me, this is how much happiness I'm getting. How much like tamas is in me, I will get that much distress. And how much in between, I will get a mixed result. This is our life, right? This is what's being explained here. This is the result of past association with the modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance. Since these varieties are visible in this life, we may assume that the living entities, according to their association with the different modes of material nature, will be happy, distressed, or between the two in their next lives also. So this is extremely important. Extremely important. See, this whole section now is explaining how a person carries forward his past life conditioning, right? He's conditioned by these three gunas, and he is bound to behave in that way. So that's why when you look at a child, the child is, and the seed is sprouting and developing. What is it? Past life he's carrying here. And now when that child comes in your home, and this is the value of Bhagavad. If you don't train that child, he will behave exactly as he was in the previous life. And it is predictable that in his next life he will also behave in the same way. And not only that, he may go down. Therefore, the best policy is to dissociate oneself from the three modes of material nature and be always transcendental to their contamination. Meaning that if in a place where there is so much tamas, right? So much tamas or too much rajas, right? Therefore, it is best to just remove ourselves from these places. And what do we do? This is possible only when one fully engages in the devotional service of the Lord. As Krishna confirms in Bhagavad Gita 14.26, Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, who doesn't fall down under any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the spiritual platform. Unless one is fully absorbed in the service of the Lord, one is subject to the contamination of the three modes of material nature and must therefore suffer from distress or mixed happiness and distress. Now, an example is given in the next verse. Text 47. Vartaman ho nyayo kalho गुणाभिज्ञापको यथा एवं जन्मन्यायुरेतद् dharma Just as springtime is in the present indicates the nature of springtime in the past and future. Astrology works on that principle. How do they make the prediction? They check, when this planet was moving this way, because that season, it's the movement of a planet, right? Sun, moon, whatever, where it is placed, that's when you get water, this is when you get, monsoon, etc. So they know that last year, when the movement of these planets were this way, this is what happened. And that's how they predict. So similarly, our own seed, when we are planting a seed, how will you behave? You can ascertain from the previous spring. Just as springtime in the present indicates the nature of springtimes in the past and future, it's not that next year the spring is going to change. So this life of happiness, distress, or a mixture of both gives evidence concerning the religious and irreligious activities of one's past and future lives. Our past and future are not very difficult to understand, for time is under the contamination of the three modes of material nature. As soon as spring arrives, the usual exhibition of different types of fruits and flowers automatically becomes manifest. And therefore, we may conclude that spring in the past was adorned with similar fruits and flowers and will be so adorned in the future also. Our repetition of birth and death is taking place within time, And according to the influence of the mode of nature, we are receiving various types of bodies and being subjected to various conditions, meaning that right now, let's say, time is very tamas. If everybody is becoming a drunkard in Bombay, right, you can be sure that your child will become a drunkard, or your husband will become a drunkard, or you yourself, right? Because the time, the atmosphere is such that, right? So we can predict, because we have seen in the past, those who associate with drunkards, they become drunkards. So it's predictable. Text 48. Manasaiva pure deva purvarupam vipashyati anumi manshate purvam manasa bhagavan jaha. The omnipotent, now this is so important. The omnipotent Yamaraj is as good as Lord Brahma. For while situated in his own abode and in everyone's heart, like the Paramatma, he mentally observes the past activities of a living entity and thus understands how the living entity will act in future lives. All right? So, Yamaraj, one should not consider Yamaraj an ordinary living being. He's as good as Lord Brahma. He has the complete cooperation of the Supreme Lord, who is situated in everyone's heart. And therefore, by the grace of the Super Soul, he can see the past, present, and future of a living being from within. The word Anumimam Shate means that he can decide in consultation with the Super Soul. Anu means following. The actual decisions concerning the next lives of the living entities are made by the Super Soul and they're carried out by Yamaraj. So, how are we getting the result of our karma? How are you getting it? Huh? No, it's explained here. How we are getting the result? How are we getting the result of the karma? How is being? How does anybody know? How does Yamaraj know? Hmm? How can he see? How can he say? This verse is saying, because the super soul is in our hearts, right? The whole record is there, right? And the super soul in Yamaraj's heart is telling him exactly, is giving the printout of our kundali, right? Is giving that print out from our heart, right? Super soul in our heart is giving to super soul in heart of Yamaraj. So he knows exactly what we have done, plus, minus, or mixed, right? So this Yamaraj is extremely powerful. And why is he so powerful? Because he's appointed by the super soul. So finally, who is giving the result of our work? Super soul, yes. The same super soul who is in our hearts, right? He is, yes, he is. He's not only sanctioning, he's giving the printout, right? How will Yamaraj know, so many millions of beings? How will he know? How is it possible? But the super soul has manifested in everybody's heart, right? So he's giving, okay, this is his document, right? This is, take it. So Yamaraj is going to look and then he's going to decide. Yatha, all right, I think we should stop now. It's 5:15. Okay? So this is, because it will take a long time. It's going to take a long time to discuss. See here how, what is dharma? What is a dharma? This is the discussion here. What is law? What is unlawful? Okay, what is lawful? What is unlawful? Dharma and adharma. Who's the witness? How do you know? Right? Who's the yeah yeah? How do you know? So here are the witnesses of our activities, right? And the so why is it that a living being in this material world, why does he act sinfully? Because as soon as you enter this material world, you're bound to commit sinful activities. Therefore, what is the solution? Yes, so therefore we have to surrender to Krishna so that we can come out. And if we don't take that move to surrender to Krishna, then 100% will continue to commit sinful activities in some way or the other. Right? This is how heavy it is. As soon as you take birth in this material world, bound, you kill a mosquito, right? Right? How many mosquitoes you are killing every day? Right? They bite you, you know, how long, how much you tolerate, right? Somebody speak rudely to you, how long will you tolerate? One day you'll give back, right? Isn't it? So many things. So it's not a nice place. Because these three gunas, Sattvagun, Rajagun, Tamogun, they're always competing to capture us. So we cannot avoid doing sinful activities. Even when we go up, we come down. Like a yo-yo, you know, down, up, down, right? You know, I just became angry and this, and then you feel, why did I speak that way, etc., etc. So very passionate and tamasic, and then goodness, right? So here it's explaining that our karma is predictable, right? Our karma is predictable. So that's why actually it's a good practice when a child is born that the Janma Kundli is done. Because you know where that person is coming from, right? Because then the duty of the parent is to remove, right? Now if parents themselves haven't undergone any training, they think we live life freely, you know, then how you guide? So therefore spring will come and bear its fruit, next spring will come and bear its fruit, right? Goes on and on and on indefinitely, right? So this is where you stop. So yeah, and Yamaraj is very pakka, no discrepancies in the management of the Supreme Lord. So very harsh. The laws of nature are very exacting, harsh, doesn't matter who you are, as soon as you have taken birth, we are in danger. As soon as we step in the material world, we're in danger. So this is very sobering. I hope that you will go home and read this section again. Very, very sobering when you realize where you are. So the solution is given, which we don't want to accept. That's the problem. We just don't want to accept. It is surrender to Krishna. This is the solution. Surrender to Krishna. We are not ready to do it. We are bargaining. All the time we are bargaining. How can I less, right? So it's a very, very difficult situation. Extremely difficult situation because we are caught and we can't come out, right? Or we are going to say, anyway, this is just a phase, it will go by. right? This is what we usually say. Just a phase will go by, right? Very famous in India. Just a phase, it will go by, right? And then the next phase will come, right? And we are going to sit and tolerate. Hmm? So we can't do this. So we are studying Bhagavatam so that we can take responsibility for our own lives and apply the changes. Hmm? All right, okay. Hare Krishna.
What about people who don't believe in reincarnation? How do we explain to them?
They don't believe, but it doesn't mean that the mango will not produce its fruit next season.
Sorry?
They may not believe that this mango tree last season it produced mangoes, right? They say, "Oh, there are no mangoes. There are mangoes." But you know, you're seeing that mango, you know last season there were mangoes there, right? So no, I'm saying now the tree is in front of me, there are no mangoes there. So you're looking at your body, no, there's nothing. I don't believe. But you know, because you have seen the last year's mangoes. And by observing the activities of a person, you know how he will behave. I think we spoke about that before. You know exactly how your husband will behave tomorrow, right? Because you have seen him before, isn't it? And why is he behaving this way? Because from past life, he already has this habit. He just picks it up again automatically. So this past is observing the present. You can understand the past and you can predict the future. He will do the, you believe me, he will do this and he will do it. Or she will do it. Right? Believe me. Yeah, this is how we are going to be going get even more thick. No, if you just become conscious where you're stuck and you can't come out, and these laws of nature chasing after you, they're not leaving you so easily. They're not leaving you off. They're actually chasing after us, right? Isn't it? We know the sufferings in our families, right? But the devotees, they don't experience so much suffering. Because devotees, they have like quite a nice life. So they're not so conscious of it.
They have a life.
Nice life. So they're not suffering so much. Hmm? So they're not so conscious. But if I deviate, even though I'm in goodness, if I deviate, then we become very risky.
And also you said about the Kundli also, how it tells everything about what from where
Yes,
he is from the
yes,
child.
yes, because
Everything.
yeah, because the sun, the moon, everything is there in your kundli, right?
So he
Where's
is
your moon place? Where's your fireplace? Where's right? These are all, no? Whether you were born in Sandhya, whether you were born in the night, whether you were born in right. This is exactly these are the witnesses which is plotted on a paper or I don't know whatever. Hmm? Right? These are the witnesses. Air, ether, right? This is what we are talking about. So these are the devas, where they were placed and where we were, right? See, it's a trap. This material world is actually a trap. It's a trap. They, like you've been trapped. We've been trapped. You can only move from this room to this room to this room to this room. Hmm? And we've been set. We've actually been set. to enjoy or to suffer in this way, that way. If you're actually able to picture this, I'm just taking those witnesses, right? Where's your moon? Which nakshatra, right? This nakshatra, remember, this is Chitragupt, right? Chitragupt, the nakshatras. That's what we read somewhere. Prabhupada's camera that is clicking the images, right? So, what did the moon witness about us? What did the sun witness about us? It's plotted, right? All right. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.